Good. Hello, and welcome to Ask the Expert series, a place where we are speaking to market leading professionals to learn and discuss the current trends and topics in the learning and development arena. With me here is Kari Gearhart, principal of Performance Bridge and a senior consultant for the Training Edge. Welcome, Kari. Thanks so much for being here. I really look forward to this discussion as I always learn so much from you. And I'd like to chat with you about today about leadership, because I know that you've got a very interesting perspective about how fitness can grow your leadership skills. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. Well, I would love to start with the spark that happened, I guess about 10 years ago. I was sitting in the front row of a leadership conference with, hundreds of other people. And I happened to sit next to a woman. Her name's Ashley Tappan. And we had this conversation. We were both in leadership development roles. And we started talking about what we did on the side, which was triathlons. And Ashley had just shared with me that she had seen, along with others that she was racing with, this exuberant, sense of crossing the finish line. And she had this aha moment of all the things that it takes you to complete something like a triathlon are really connected to what helps you be a stronger leader. And we had this great discussion. That's where the spark started. We were both also part of a women's professional group, a nonprofit. We're like, we could bring this program to these women because the goal of that nonprofit was to raise women up into the C-suite. So we started like having this conversation, and it evolved into this program we called Fit to Lead, which has components, and I'll illustrate those and we'll probably talk about them a little bit more. But things like having a clear vision, you need that for your sport. And this isn't about doing triathlon. So I want to be clear. This is about having a fitness goal, whether it's yoga, 5K, triathlons, what have you, name it. But you have to have a vision of what you really want. You need that for your leadership. You need to set goals to get to that vision. You need that for a sport. You need that for leadership. So you see how it kind of all these kind of components support each other. If you're building a skill in one area, it supports the other. And so we had this wonderful opportunity to build this program called Fit to Lead and ran it for many years. And you can see my spark. I still really enthused about it.
Yeah, I love that. And then I think from there, oh gosh, you can't really see it,
There
but the
it is.
book
Yeah.
came out and I just, reading through that, there were so many parallels between what it takes to prepare for some kind of fitness goal and also then building your leadership skills. So, yeah, starting off with a vision or starting off with the goals, but then you also talk about so many other things about the highs and lows in leadership and how do you, continue to build with resiliency and how do you really tap into so much. And what I love most about your book is it really becomes a personal journey for you, right? So you have an opportunity to write in here about not only reflections, but setting up your goals and everything else. So tell me about writing the book. What did you
Yeah.
enjoy about doing this?
Yeah, the book came about ironically out of having something bad be good. So when the pandemic hit, all the races stopped. And so the group that we were working with couldn't race. And we're like, but we want to reach more women. And it wasn't, again, all about triathlons. So, and my partner, Ashley Tappan, moved to Florida and I was in the Philadelphia area. So this was our way of connecting. We love this work. And we said, let's just do this for fun. We really didn't have this like long-term goal to write a book, but it came out beautifully because we worked together, put this program into a book. And we decided to make it a guided journal. Although it is written with women in mind, we have run the Fit to Lead program for men and women because these leadership principles are not gender specific at all. But we made it a journal. It can exist on its own. Like you said, there's so many parallels that people can guide themselves and write and reflect throughout on their own. The power we've found, and I can share some of the programs we've done using the book, is to have an accountability team, whether that's an intact team in a club, at work, in your family, but that accountability helps in any aspect of personal and professional growth. So this is no exception. But we just had a blast writing the book and have had some great feedback and reviews about what it's done for people's lives.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that really kind of resonated with me is that especially if you are in a leadership role or always on the road, you kind of use this, whether you call it excuse or whatever, that, I just don't have time for this. I don't have time for fitness, or I don't have time to invest in myself. And so what do you say when people kind of have that reaction to it, in terms of, I know I should be doing this. I know I should be, investing in myself and investing in my growth and reaching for those goals, but I just don't have time for it.
Yeah, yeah. And often the question is, where do I start? And
Mhm.
very deliberate when we wrote the book to do the Wheel of Life as the very first starting point, because exactly that's what happens, Barbara Ann, is people are like, oh, I'll work out when I have time, and everything else takes, over. But that Wheel of Life, and it's basically looking about 8 areas of your life, assessing your level of satisfaction and going, okay, am I happy with that? And
Mm.
sometimes people realize I'm happy with my work, but my fitness is like on a scale of 1 to 10, a 2, because I just don't have time. And it's a really eye-opening experience. And it kind of level sets you like, okay, if I want my life to change, I've got to shift things around. And we make this big emphasis in the book about what I'm going to say no to versus creating a longer to-do list. I mean, that's really takes some discipline to continue to put those boundaries on of what I'm going to do, not do now. It's not like never. So, for example, working parents, they have all kinds of legitimate excuses not to, work out because they've got to work and go at home, take care of the family. But this allowed some of our participants, for instance, to say, I can go to the park, ride my bike, and have my husband watch the kids in the park while I'm riding my bike. Or I can ask, other people don't do that, right? Ask for someone to take, my kids or my family, or have them do something while I take time for myself. So that's one of those powerful aha moments of, if you want this life, if you want fitness to fuel you as a leader, you need to make some changes and you need to take that control.
Yeah, you phrased that so well. And what am I willing to say no to, right? Or,
Mhm.
very often I don't think that people understand that when you talk about work-life balance, when you're saying yes to some things, you're actually saying no to other things and vice versa. And so I think, the way that you put that is that you're not always going to have kind of a 10 out of 10 in all of these different categories, because not everybody can do that. It's about sometimes your priorities, need to shift, and rightfully you want them to shift, and being able to work at that. So I really appreciate that point of view.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I know that you also have great expertise in applied positive psychology. And
Mhm.
so, where does that positivity come into play when you talk about achieving your goals, and how your brain works, and how you build that resiliency to really want to make changes in your life, do you think?
Yeah. That's another really important part of the program as well as the book. And one of the things I often say, it's positive psychology. A lot of people think it's like looking at the world through rose-colored glasses, and it's not that at all. The key element we teach is mindset. There's some great work out of Stanford with Carol Dweck, who's written books and so forth, and we use her research to talk about the importance of having this growth mindset. And it is just what it sounds like, having a mindset that when things don't go well, you instead of going, oh no, oh, awful, down to the judger pit, if you will, is to go, okay, that happened. What can I learn from that? How can I grow from that? And what's next versus, taking the negative route. Hard to do. Even those of us who teach it often have to, practice it. And it's, again, it's not about like ignoring things that are negative, but putting them in their place and going, okay, is this mindset serving me? And if it's not, what can I learn from it and how can I move it forward?
Yeah, and my guess is that that's a significant part of not only your Fit to Lead program, but also just generally setting a goal, putting it in place, and knowing that you're going to have some
Right.
of those challenges that will come along the way, where you've got to really dig a little bit deeper and identify, the kind of mindset you want to have when you're trying to achieve those goals.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Spot
Well,
on.
thank you, Kari. I really appreciate this brief conversation. If you haven't, already caught it, is that, go ahead and get that book, Reach Your Fitness to Grow Your Leadership. It's a journal for women, although, men can really value from the expertise here as well, too. It's available, I know, on Amazon. And at the same time, you just have really great expertise in this area. So thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity to talk about it.